Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to be going through what it could look like to budget a £41,000 yearly salary. Now I say what it could look like because obviously there's not a one size fits all approach. It depends on multiple factors such as whether you have another household income, depending on how much debt you may have, depending on what your savings goals are and how much you spend on transport, food, etc. But the goal of these types of videos is to give you an idea of what it could look like and the types of things that you could be aiming for or working to improve upon. So in the last budgeting video that I did, it was budgeting a £31,000 salary. So today is £10,000 more than the last video. So it will be interesting to see what the difference will be between this video and the last. Now, if you are somebody who makes quite a bit less than £41,000, this could be something that you're aspiring to and you're hoping to get to in the future. And if you make a lot more than £41,000 and maybe there are certain things that you want to improve upon, such as your investing or savings, this could be motivation for you to see that, well, if somebody on less than me could potentially save this much, maybe it's time for me to start investing or saving more. So again, it really depends on your personal circumstances, but I hope this will give you somewhat of an idea of things that you could do with your money. Right, so you should be able to see my screen now. So here we are using a budget spreadsheet that I made for myself, but I now have it available on Etsy if you're interested in purchasing it. It's £2.40. Or if you just want to get an idea of what a budget spreadsheet could look like, take some ideas for yourself from this video and plug it into your own Excel spreadsheet. So you'll see that I have spaces for different net incomes, so income after your taxes and any other deductions are taken out, and potentially additional income. But for this exercise, we're going to assume that this person again is making £41,000 per year, but we're also going to assume that this net income is after they've contributed 4% into their pension. Now, this is something that I talk about quite a bit on my channel because pension contributions are something that I think we all need to be doing. I don't think anyone needs to be opting out. I think it's so important that we set ourselves up for our future. And so if you're not contributing to your pension, then check out this video linked above. And if you are, then I guess that's a good thing. So again, this is the net income after taxes and after pension contribution. So this person would see around £2,535 hit their account every single month. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, similar to how I did it in the other budgeting video, we're assuming that this person is splitting their bills. Now, splitting their bills in half, whether that's with a partner or whether that's in, I don't know, a room share or whatever else. So let's first of all start with giving and donating. Now, in the last video, we had it that the person was giving or donating about just under 2% of their income. And I think really the ideal goal should be about 10% of your income that's giving or donating every month. That can seem quite a lot for people who don't give or donate. That may seem quite small for people who are quite generous givers. But I think it's really important to kind of set this up as a part of your lifestyle. Not only does it feel good, not only are you doing your bit to make sure the world goes around, you're also building up habits that wealthy people have. And I'm assuming if you're watching my videos and other personal finance content on YouTube or wherever else you're watching it or reading it, you're probably hoping to be wealthy one day. And if that is the case, wealthy people generally give. Not only is it a great tax break, it's also kind of a social responsibility that they have. When you have more, you should really be doing more to give more. And so if you start now when you have less, it becomes much easier. So I've been told, I'm not wealthy yet. It becomes much easier when you get to larger amounts of money to give it away. Whether you give to a religious organization or a charity or to a family member or a friend or whatever it is, that could go under giving and donating. So we're going to assume here, as I said last time, they were donating about 2%. So I think if they're making about £10,000 more, I would hope they could double their giving, so maybe around the 4% region. So let's see, if we perhaps give £100 to charity per month, we are at 3.94%, so just under 4% worth of giving. And you know, with £100 donation, for instance, you could be donating to 4 or 5 different charities, or you know, giving £20 a month each, or something like that. But it's just you doing your bit in the world, and you'll be surprised how giving finds a way back to you. It's really interesting how that happens. Now next we've got housing and utilities. So again, we're assuming that bills are split in two between whoever. And last time I done the mortgage rent at £350 each, and someone had made a comment that that is really cheap, and it is cheap for us down here in the southeast, but in a lot of other places in the UK, that's actually quite reasonable. £350 each is £700 for renting a house or for a mortgage payment, and that is quite realistic for other parts of the UK. But let's assume that we're in the southeast, and you know, mortgage or rents are probably more around the £1,200 region. So let's maybe assume £600 each. And council tax, £60. Utilities, again, of course, this will vary. I'm just giving rough numbers. Utilities, £60 each, so £120 in total. Broadband and TV, if we put £20, that's £40 for the household. And TV license, £7.50, because it's about £14. So we can see that the housing and utilities comes to a grand total of 29.49% of this person's income. Now, I would say that is okay, because the gold standard really is the gold standard really is to aim for 30% or less of your total net income to go towards housing. So getting your housing and utilities all for 30% is pretty good. It's okay. But I think it's even better if you can get it between 20 to 25%. It just gives you that extra 5 to 10% buffer to throw towards your investments and savings. Because generally they say, you know, try to save 10%. But if you can get your housing and utilities down by 5 or 10%, then you can increase those investments and savings by 10%. So I think this is a really good, I talked about this in another video. I think this is a really good benchmark to use when you're looking to buy a home or rent somewhere. Have an idea of how much it's going to take of your income per month. What proportion of your income is it going to take? If it's going to take 40, 50% of your income, then that gives you an idea that you're overstretching yourself. That's not going to give you much room for everything else in your budget. So I think it's good to do before you move somewhere. And that was something that we did before we bought our house. Had a rough idea of how much would it take of our monthly income. And we were like, oh, between 20 to 25%, we're happy with that. So that's just something that I would recommend personally. Right, so next we've got investments and savings. So again, the goal, people say 10%, but I think that's still really conservative. I say that acknowledging the fact that a lot of people even find 10% hard to save or invest, and that's totally understandable. You have to have something to work towards. We all start somewhere. We all start at zero, essentially, and we all build ourselves up. So if you're nowhere near that 10%, that's fine, but just work towards getting there. Now, if you're already at that 10% and you've got to that stage where you're feeling real comfortable, it's probably time to increase that and try and get to 15 or 20%. If you can get to 25 or 30%, then you're in a really, really good place. But for this exercise, let's aim for close to 20%. So emergency fund, let's assume they can put £75 a month away towards their emergency savings, so 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and they're trying to build that emergency fund if they don't have it already. Short-term investments depends on what you're looking to do. So if you're like me, I have Trading 212 and I put £50 per month into that. And then long-term investments, let's maybe say £400 a month and see where we're at. Okay, so if we were to do that, then we're now at 20.71%. That's slightly over the 20% that we said. But I think for now, let's try to do that. if this was a couple, for instance, let's assume this is a couple and they're both putting in £400 a month into their long-term investments, that's £800 a month that they're putting in to their investments. So that's a really healthy amount that they are saving or investing every single month. Now, before we move on, we'll just have a quick look at the total expenses and the surplus and shortage. So currently we are at £1,372 is how much we've allocated in the budget, which is equivalent to 54%. Then we've got the surplus and shortage, which is at £1,162. So we have that left to spend, which is equivalent to 46%. Right, now debt repayments. Again, this varies largely depending on where you are at. So if you've got zero debt, then you're in a wonderful place because this doesn't need to take up any of your budget at all and you can move on. And that's really the best place that you could be in. Now, if you're like a lot of people, you probably have some form of debt. The amount that you have can vary largely. I looked up before this video, so the average debt lies between £7,000 to £12,000. Let's assume that this person has £7,000 worth of debt. Okay, if that was the case, the goal is clearly to get to zero as quickly as possible. So £7,000, they've got it on a 0% interest card and they're trying to pay this off in 2 years. If they were trying to pay this off in 2 years, then they would need to put approximately £291 per month towards their debt in order to pay that off for 2 years. Now that shows us that our debt repayments are taking up 11.48% of our income. That is quite a bit, but if you want to be aggressive with your debt, then it basically has to be done. And I can really sympathize with this because I remember at one stage I was paying, this is not an exaggeration, roughly about £800 per month towards debt. And that was because I was being so aggressive with it. I wanted it to be quite painful in the fact that I wanted to remember what it felt like to have so much debt and to basically never get myself in that position again. So by having such a large amount that I had to pay off towards debt every single month, around £800, it may have been a bit more, but I think it was around 800. That was really painful. That was £800 taken away from me spending it on something I enjoy or putting it into savings or investments. That was a lot of money going out every single month. But being aggressive meant that I was slashing that debt very, very quickly and getting through it very, very quickly. It was painful for that set amount of time, but it was worth it. So you have to just weigh up what's worth it for you. Right, groceries and food, again, very dependent on what you're spending. But I think this category actually is somewhere that people can really, really work on cutting back. People overspend a lot on their weekly food shop, on going out to eat, snacks, everything else. You know, it's an area where your money can very quickly dwindle away. And, you know, if you looked at your bank statements, you may be one of those people who scroll through and see that most of your monthly income is going towards food. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So food shop, this is from personal experience, so it may vary. But for me, when I was living alone, I spent about £30 per week on food. So that was £120 per month on food. And I felt that was sufficient. I got everything I needed. I wasn't overindulgent, but it was good enough. Now it's my husband and I, we spend about £50 per week on food. So for me, based on that, I assume that, you know, adding an additional person, you add an additional £20 per week. There's no science to that. That's just my personal experience. And I think it's quite reasonable, in my opinion. So depending on how many people are in your household, of course, then, you know, this will fluctuate. But let's assume 3 of you in a household, maybe a small family. Let's just say £70 per week based on those calculations that I just did before. So that would be equivalent to £280 per month. Now, restaurant takeaway, again, very much depends on what you do. I actually, even though I have restaurant and takeaway here, personally for me, My restaurant money comes out of fund money, because when I go to a restaurant, it's for social purposes. So I take that out of my fund money. So it's not really restaurant takeaways, it's for takeaways. I personally budget around £50 to £60 per month for takeaways, because it's something that I enjoy, it's something that I value, especially on a Friday night. There's nothing like getting a takeaway and watching a nice film on the sofa. So if it is part of your lifestyle, be realistic and put it in your budget. So let's say £50 per month. Work lunches, this is where I used to blow money hugely, a lot. So of course, again, this is somewhere where you can save a lot. Work lunches, I think I got to a stage where I cut down to £25 per week. That may seem steep for some, but I think I was spending close to £100 per week at one point, just on like work lunches, like morning coffees and croissants, then lunch, then evening snacks. It was quite intense. Curious to know what you currently do for work lunches, or if you're probably still working from home and this doesn't count for you. But if we're going to assume £25 per week, then of course that is £100 per month, which brings us to a grand total of just under 17% for groceries and food. Quite high. Maybe that could come down a bit, but let's just leave that for now and let's see how it goes with the other categories. Oh, actually, before I do that, the reason why it's so high is because I didn't split the groceries and food. So that needs to be split. I wonder if you were screaming at the screen saying, you didn't split it, it's split in two. 140 takeaway, let's bring that down to 25. Work lunches will leave as is because you don't really split that. Okay, and now we're down to 10.45%, which is much more healthy looking. Miscellaneous, so this is all the stuff, another area where you can technically cut down. So if you're strapped for cash and you're trying to find areas where you can cut back, groceries and food and miscellaneous are two areas where you can definitely do that. Mobile phone plan, let's just assume that you're on a contract and you're paying 40-ish pounds per month. Fund money is so important. I spoke about this a lot in my last video, so I won't really harp on it too much in this video. You have to enjoy life, and fund money is that. It's that guilt-free money that you can do whatever you please with. So let's say £100 or 120. Let's say £120. You may have Spotify, and if you do, maybe you split it. So it's around £8 per month. You may not have let's say you don't have Netflix. Let's say you have Spotify and not Netflix. Clothing, depends on how much you spend per month on clothes. You may not spend it per month, but you may have like a money pot on Monzo, for instance, where you put money every month towards clothing. So when you do go shopping, you've got that pot of money available. Gym membership, maybe you work out. I mean, gym membership, you can go anywhere from £19 a month to £100 a month, depending how fancy you are. So let's just say maybe £40 per month. Self-care, add a bit of extra money there. Let's say £25 per month, and anything other. So of course, with this spreadsheet, you can change anything that you want. If something's not relevant to you and it's not Netflix and it's Disney Plus, then just change that. Whatever you want, change it. So let's see where we're at. So our miscellaneous is 10%, which I think is a healthy amount. 10 to 15% I think is a healthy amount. So we still have 14% left of our budget. And what we've got left, so we've got insurances, transport, life events fund, and other. Insurances, I personally think in the UK aren't that bad. So car insurance, for purposes of this one, I'm gonna assume this person lives in London or the outskirts of London and doesn't have a car. House insurance, let's say £10 per month, split in two, so £20 per month. Life insurance, really important to have, especially if you have dependents or you have a partner. So, and especially if you're young, it's so cheap if you start young, so there's no reason not to. I mean, mine is £8 a month currently, so we can just put £10. Mobile insurance, around £10 per month, and you may have some other insurance like disability insurance, pet insurance, whatever. So just include that in there. So insurances, 1.18%. Insurances really should be a small portion of your income. Fuel or transport, but again, I said we're going to assume this person doesn't have a car, so they don't have to pay for fuel, they don't have to pay for road tax, they don't have to pay for MOT, so they're saving a lot of money. But they live in London or the outskirts of London, so I think that's around £200 per month. It may have gone up. but let's just assume £200 per month for them to get around London. So that brings our transport to 7.89%. Right, so we've got 5% left. Let's see if we can do this. Birthdays fund. I talk about this a lot in my Monzo video, and I always reference my Monzo video. So I live by these funds. I've got them myself. So birthday fund, holiday fund, Christmas fund. I think it's good to put aside some money every single month into these funds. So when these events come up, you're not scrambling for money. So let's just say £30 for birthday, £30 for Christmas. Holiday, let's be a bit more generous and say 100. And oof, well, we can't do that because we're at -2%. So let's bring this holiday fund down to 50, which really it's not exactly going to give you much. And we're now at exactly 100%. The main goal of this exercise was to really try to show ways that you can budget such a salary and ways that you can rejig it to meet your goals. So you don't have to completely cut down your debt repayments and pay only the minimum. You don't have to save nothing. You don't have to not have fun. You can still do these things, but within reason, so that you're able to also, keep food on the table, keep your lights on, keep a roof over your head, keep transport going to get to work. There are different methods that may suit you. So it's about finding the thing that works for you and your family or your circumstances. So I hope that today's video has been helpful for you, has been useful, and let me know down below if there's a specific salary category that you want me to cover next. I'm thinking I'm going to go up to 51 or I'm going to go down to 21. Don't know why I'm doing the ones, why I'm not just doing 20, 30, 40. I don't know what that's about, but I started the trend, so now I have to finish it. So let me know if you want me to go down to 21 or whether you want me to go up to 51 next, or if there's another type of salary that you want me to approach, or another type of scenario that you want me to approach. So thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video real soon.